Welcome to NinjaCast, a photography podcast powered by Studio Ninja, the world's highest rated business management app, built specifically for photographers. Listen and learn as the most successful photographers on the planet share their knowledge to help you transform every element of your photography business. Here's your host, Sally Shaw.
Hi guys, welcome to NinjaCast. Today I'm joined by Rensche Mari. I'm really excited to have her on the show today. We're going to cover everything from storytelling to marketing to posing your couples. So let's get started. Hi Rensche, thank you so much for joining us. How are you?
I'm doing well, thanks. And you?
Yeah, I'm really good, thank you. How's life? How's things been for you?
Oh, it's been quiet, but I'm really enjoying the time off and working on my own things in my house and painting walls and putting up photo cells and just really using the bed. I'm gardening and doing everything that I actually can do that I can't ever do when I'm sitting all the time. So
absolutely. It's been so nice to have some downtime, hasn't it? Like, don't get me wrong, I miss weddings so much. But it's been lovely to, like you say, do the gardening, paint some walls, get the house up to date, just spend some time.
Yes, and I have 2 fur babies, so I'm really loving the time with them and just cuddling them and taking them for walks and stuff like that. So.
Oh, lovely. What dogs have you got?
I've got a schnauzer. He's lying down here and not bothered. And then I've got a little Havanese. I'll just move my camera.
Oh,
he's
oh, he's beautiful.
Yeah, it's such a sweetie.
I'm a big dog lover. I have a German Shepherd and I have a Siberian Husky. So I've spent most of our lockdown kind of up trekking hills and doing 6-hour walks.
Oh my word, that is so lovely. Like, I do not walk. Don't do hiking, but I love taking them for a walk, and I have a park right outside my house. So sometimes I just do 2 rounds around the park, and then I'm like, okay, I'm done.
Absolutely.
They don't know.
I miss I should have kind of got that boat of a smaller dog, takes less walking.
And they pull. They're so strong.
Yeah.
So for me, it's like,
absolutely.
I can't even imagine.
Our Husky, she literally pulls like a train from the second you put her lead on to the second that you let go. So, Rensche, for our listeners who don't necessarily know you or may not have heard of you before, can you give us a little intro into who you are, your business and your journey so far?
Yeah, so I'm a photographer from South Africa, and I've been a photographer for the last 16 years. My journey started when I was around 17. I really knew I wanted to be a photographer, but my dad, who's a baby boomer, said, no, you need an education and you need to do something in business. And I went off and studied BCom marketing. And within the first year, I just knew that I'm not cut out for it. They're like boring, and I needed something that really interested me, and it was photography. But I think it was 2002 that I started BCom, and then 2003, my brother suggested I do something in design first and go from there. So I did a little mini intro photography course with a photographer, later became my mentor, and we did, and I studied DTP operating. I don't know if you know what that is, desktop publishing. So it's color correcting and layout design and stuff like that.
Wow.
And once that bug caught me, I was like, okay, I definitely need to go into visual communication, which wasn't a thing when I started. It's like we didn't know about this. So I went and I did in 2003 and 4, I studied visual communication, which is photography, video, and graphic design, and loved it from there on out. And then started my first job in desktop publishing, where I worked for a publishing house, and I got bored very quickly, and I was just like, no, I'll just do this for myself. And I haven't looked back. So it's great.
That sounds like such a journey that you've been on. You know, you've kind of experienced so many different side of things, and really got to kind of, like you say, know what you love and actually what you really don't love.
Yes. Yeah, so the business wasn't always that great, but like you need it after a while. So I'm glad I did take some other journeys throughout my education, or I'm always learning. I'm still learning, but it's fun. It's fun to actually do everything and be a part of everything and knowing where something fits or not.
Yeah, 100%. It's nice to have that clarity of where you are is exactly where you want to be, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, so I shoot weddings and portraits. Those are my main areas of expertise, and I love it. I absolutely love being with people. Not all the time. I mean, lockdown was a breeze for me. I was just doing my own thing, and I'm sort of a little hermit. Like, I love to be in my house and, you know, have that whole slow living going. But I did miss photographing people. So I'm glad we're back to level 1 now. So we can go and start taking photos and stuff, but it's still very strict here in South Africa. But I mean, it's good. We don't want that third wave to come.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, here in the UK at the moment, we're just kind of starting to step out of things now. We're starting to build back up very slowly in stages to some kind of normality again. So definitely everybody's kind of on tender hooks waiting to shoot a wedding again.
Yeah, so what is the amount of people that you can the biggest wedding that you can do right now?
15 people right now.
15? Okay.
Yeah.
That's tough.
Yeah,
but it's good.
It's a challenge for everyone, for sure. You know, there is so many photographers in our industry that have, you know, completely pivoted and, you know, brought up these micro wedding packages and packages that are so suitable for what we're in right now. So it's, you know, it's amazing that people have just found this new way of running the business. But I think, you know, it's going to be a very happy day when, you know, you can walk into a wedding and the dance floor is full and there's like 100 guests all enjoying themselves, mask free, and, you know.
Oh my word. I can't wait for the mask free because I feel like I can't breathe. I'm always like, my Apple Watch keep on telling me to remember to breathe. I'm like, I'm going to pass out right now because this thing is telling me, it's like warning me, you need to breathe. But yeah, we also started doing that in South Africa, doing the micro wedding package and stuff like that. And I wanted to do that, but I didn't want to give it to everyone. So it was like the first 10 weddings that book, because you don't want to be too busy as well. So for me, it was like keeping it like a little strain, or like a leash on it, and not let it run away, and book 20 of them for the year. So that's great.
Absolutely. So your style of photography, I mean, it's stunning. I had a look at your website in detail and trolled through your Instagram, and there is such a storytelling vibe about your images and the way that you shoot. So for photographers out there that may be listening that are looking to really improve that storytelling element of their weddings, do you perhaps have any tips for them?
Yes. So each client I have, they will get an album. So there's no album option. Every client will get an album. Even if it's a small album, you will get an album. And the way I see it is my photos are more powerful as a story than it is individually. So I can't give my photos into fearless photographers. It just won't make the cut. But my albums are my pride and joy, and what I put in there is the actual story of the day. So for me, it's you know, telling the story is showing up on the day and shooting for your album. It's actually seeing, what am I going to put in the album, what's going to make the story even better, what doesn't need to be there, but I will see it on the day. I'll be like, okay, I'm going to take this shot for the bride, but this won't make the cut for the album because it's unnecessary. It's pretty, and they can see it online or on their USB disk, which should not be in here anymore, but they will see the story that I put out for them in the album. Yeah.
So you very much shoot with your album in mind throughout a wedding day.
Yes.
That's a really great tip, actually, because I think lots of photographers out there will just shoot the day, you know, it unfolds and they're shooting everything that happens. And then the album is very much an after wedding thing. You know, it is something that once you've edited your photos, you've delivered them to your client, next up it's, okay, do you want an album? Or in your case, which album? So it's great that actually, you know, you're flipping that on its head very much, aren't you? And kind of saying this whole day, and, you know, your reason for being there is to put that story into that book, if you like, for them to look through forever.
No, I mean, the thing is, people don't realize, but having your photos on disc or on a pixie set gallery or whatever, it's not going to make a difference. You won't feel what you feel when you actually have the album in front of you.
Mm-hmm.
There's a certain thing that happens, like, I think it's chemistry. It's like just having something in your hand and paging through it, and you go like, oh, this is me. It's the same for me when I print my work. Like, I don't know if you can see, but that's one of my photos that I did in science. But every now and then I print something for myself, and I'm just like, damn, you are actually good, because we doubt ourselves so often that when I do print something, I'm like, you know what? You can do this. You are a pro. Don't stress. Don't talk yourself out of it and say, oh, maybe I should do something else. It's so satisfactory to see something in print and to actually, like, you know, hold it. It's different because we're so digitally, like, adapted today that we don't realize what we can feel when we actually see something in print. So yeah, my whole house is prints everywhere, and photos of my family, and even if it's an ugly photo that was taken like in 2004 where the digital cameras were terrible, it still has a feeling connected to it, and when I see it, I feel differently to when I see it on screen.
Yeah, absolutely. I completely get where you're coming from there. I think that you're either a tangible person or you're a digital person, and I'm exactly the same. I love to have prints in my hands, to be able to look through an album, to turn the pages. It's just got that different feeling, hasn't it, to just, you know, going through a gallery.
Yeah, definitely.
Love that. So in terms of your images then, so when you're at a wedding, you're approaching bridal prep, are there certain things that you have kind of trained yourself to look out for in that storytelling? So do you take photos of the building before you would enter it to kind of start that story off? And how does that unfold through the day?
Yeah, so for me, it's like, what is the weather like today? I want them to remember the weather, and I want them to see what it looked like on their wedding day, because they inside most of the time. And, you know, and I always tell my clients beforehand as well, if it's going to rain, like, what can you do about it? It's still your choice to decide if you're going to enjoy it or not. So beforehand, my clients actually get a prep, and they say, and I tell them, like, we're not going to worry if it's some rain or showers or sunshine. We're going to enjoy it, and we're going to have the best time, because it's also important for me, for my clients, if they don't enjoy their day, they're not going to love their photos, because it will show on the photos. So when I walk in and I see something that's beautiful, I'll photograph it. Obviously, I do tend to be more editorial and make it beautiful. I don't want, you know, a plastic bag to be in the background and stuff like that. But I do some prep work beforehand that I send to my clients, just in case they didn't know, because they don't know. They don't do weddings every day. 100%. But yeah, I'll photograph little details and anything that seems special to me. And I'll even ask them if there's anything that they want to remember that's going to be extra special for them, so that I can photograph that for them. Mm-hmm. And it's just like really taking the day, not saying, okay, I'm going to photograph this and photograph this and photograph this, because sometimes it doesn't happen like that. I'll get to a wedding and for some reason the decor won't be ready yet, and, you know, my time frame is just messed up. So I am actually the calmest person when I go to a wedding, because I'm like, anything can happen, and I'm not going to stress. And I'm just going to take it as it comes. Because my brides sometimes are like, oh, I'm so sorry, the timeline's not correct. And I'm like, don't worry. Like, I'm here. Like, I'll photograph what's here, and we're going to go from there. Because I want them to always have a great experience and not feel like I'm pressuring them to get something out of them. So if my clients tell me they want 5 minutes of portrait shoots after the wedding, after the ceremony, I go, you'll do it. And I'll take 5 minutes of photos and you won't even notice on the blog post.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, for me, it's like show up and see what's there and take it in and yeah, go from there.
Lovely. And when you're, you've kind of touched on it there briefly, but when you're out taking those portraits, you're in that session with the clients, and how do you get them to really connect whilst you're stood there? So another thing I noticed about your images is there's so much connection going on between your couples within that photo, to the point where it actually looks like there couldn't possibly have been a photographer or a third person standing there at all. So how do you get to that point with your couples?
So before I do anything, I send my clients an email and I ask them how comfortable they are in front of the camera. When they inquire, they get a little list of questions. And the one question is, on a scale from 1 to 10, how comfortable are you in front of the camera? And the reason why I ask this is if they're already uncomfortable, I'd rather suggest we do a little couple session or something like that, just so they can see that it's not going to be weird. Because I think what happens with me is, like, before I had to get a photo session done for myself, I'm stressing the whole time because I've never done it. I've never been in front of the camera. I've only been behind it. So doing it, it eases you and you're like, okay, it's not that bad. Don't stress about it that much. But I think for clients, remember, this is like once in a while they're going to do this. Maybe every 10 years they'll do a photo shoot. Yeah. So I ask them, how comfortable are you? How comfortable are you in front of the camera? Like, if you're totally uncomfortable, we do a session. If you're not, fine. But then when I show up, I tell them, the first 15 minutes is going to be awkward. Mm-hmm. We're going to get to know each other a little bit, and then it's going to be fine. And once they see, like, okay, listen, this is not that bad, we can start getting that connection between people. So when I'm doing big families, it's very stiff. People are like standing, and I found that an icebreaker is telling people to look at each other, because they have a connection with the other person, not with me. So I can't tell them, oh, look at me and be free. But I can tell them, look at each other, and then look back at me, because they'll have a smile on their face, because it's weird when you have to pose for a photo and you have to look at each other. So for big groups, I always say, look at each other, laugh. I have this little saying, remember you're happy, because they get to that point where they're like, resting bitch face. And when I say, remember you're happy, they laugh. I used to say, pretend that you're happy. And the shock would first be like, what do you mean, pretend? But then when I say, remember you're happy, then they smile, because like, oh yes, you have to smile for this photo. So it's really, it's really about communicating with your clients and not making it too awkward, because if they're going to look at you the whole time, they're going to be awkward. But if they're constantly moving from the person next to them to you, they actually get so much more comfortable. And they're like, okay, this is actually fun. I get to look at someone that I love. And then, another thing is connection for me is through touching someone, like holding their hands or giving them a hug. And I feel like when I look at some other photographers' work, sometimes they got the most amazing shot, but there's no connection between people. And that's just remembering to tell people, like, hold each other's hands. And I'm very, like, I love my family so much, and I love my grandparents. And for me, that is one of the most special moments. So I'll always grab my groom and his grandmother, and my bride and her grandmother's or mother, and I'll tell them, look at each other, hug each other, and I'll get all those shots. And I'll even get one where they're looking at me, but the connection between the ones where they're looking at each other it makes me excited. Like, that's what I love to do, is just have people like connecting with each other and not look at me. I'm not there. So I'm there, but I'm not there.
You can definitely feel that when you look at your images. Anyone that's listening that goes and has a look at your Instagram or your website, they'll feel that straight away. The exact same way that I did. So in terms of how you build those relationships, let's kind of backtrack. So it's before the wedding. You know, the couple, at the point of the wedding, they're super comfortable with you. You've maybe done a pre-shoot with them. You've maybe, maybe they're super comfortable and you've just turned up on the day. Is there anything that you do even further back from that to try and get your couples to know who you are and to trust you?
I do like to meet my couples beforehand, but I mean, sometimes I can't. But I do love a face-to-face with them. Just telling them who I am and letting them get comfortable with me and hearing any of their concerns. But the one thing that I have realized throughout the years is just to always make it about your client. It's not about you. No drama. I mean, I'm not going to throw my toys out of the cot if my clients give me 5 minutes for bridal portraits and stuff like that. I mean, the moment you make them feel comfortable, they're going to be comfortable. If you tell them, I don't care I'm going to give you what you want, as long as you give me in return what I need to get it, we'll be fine. Mm-hmm. But I'm not going to say on the day, like, no, you're not going to get this. I know there's a lot of photographers out there that hate the family portraits, but for me, it's also getting the client that loves that, because that's what I'm going to be focusing on the day. I will do 20 minutes of portraits. If it means I get to do half an hour or 30 minutes or 45 minutes with a client, with a family, I'll rather do that. And getting your clients to know what type of photography you are is great. If a photographer phones me or they send me an email and they tell me, because yes, I have the 3 questions on my email. So the other question is, what are the 3 most important things that you want to experience on your wedding day? And those will tell me what type of client I'm dealing with. If it's a client like the most important thing is me and my groom, or me and my bride, or, we just want portraits of ourselves, it's probably not my client. And, seeing that and saying, listen, I think that maybe you should be getting another photographer or getting another option, because my first thing that my brides will tell me is, I want portraits with my family. I want the groom to see me walking down the aisle. I want a photo of that. And I want a photo with my dad when I'm doing the dance or whatever. Those types of questions lead me to think that this is a client for me. And, for me, at the end of the day, if I can get that sort of client, everything else will fall into place, because they know what they're going to get from me. And they know that I'm going to be vigilant on getting photos with the family and getting guest portraits and stuff like that. I absolutely love those photos. When I have to send my assistant to get them, I always go and get them for myself as well, because they're special. I mean, these are people that might not be there in a year. Mm-hmm. They're going to want those photos. And I mean, even during this time, the amount of brides that contacted me that wanted photos of their dads or their loved ones that has passed away, it's insane. And I'm glad that I got to photograph them. Mm-hmm. So for me, it's always like, pay attention to what your client wants and make sure that that's what you want as well.
I love that.
Did I answer your question?
That's like a bombshell.
Love that. Too much.
So to move a little bit onto how you get those clients. So, you've got these clients that are coming through your inquiry form in your inbox, and, let's go a little bit further back. So what marketing do you use to actually attract those clients that you're looking for?
So I've got 2 main marketing methods. And the one is what I already told you. Each client gets a book. Mm-hmm. That is a piece of real estate sitting on their coffee table that everyone gets to see. Everyone that walks in will see the album, and they can connect to it or they won't. So they will contact me, oh, you did my cousin, you did my uncle, I get like families that I've been photographing for 14, 15 years. And it's like every time it's the new cousin or the new, the friend, the best friend. And that's how it started. I mean, it's so silly to think that your client's paying for a product that's going to be advertisement for you. And that's why it's so important to print for your clients and to give them stuff that the presentation is going to be amazing. So I do walls for my clients, and I make sure that they always have something visual in their house so that someone walks in, oh wow, these are beautiful, who's your photographer? Those are going to be your best clients because it comes through word of mouth, which is honest. I mean, putting an ad out on Instagram is not going to help me. It's going to maybe give me more followers and give me someone that likes my work, but it's not going to actually entice someone to come and say, it might happen, but not as often as it happens for a coffee table book on the table of your clients. And then the other one is for planners. So I have a couple of planners in South Africa that I love to work with. And I basically market through them I shoot for them for free so that they can post it. Clients see it and they go like, okay, this photographer is always being used by this wedding planner. Maybe there's some truth to it. Maybe they love what she's doing. Let's invest, and go from there. So I started like a couple of years ago, I did like a portfolio book for all the planners that I have never worked with and I always wanted to. So I sent it out to them and it got me like almost a year's worth of bookings just by sending it out, sending my packages. And I mean, I don't do it anymore because now my name is established and people know who I am and stuff like that. But it actually worked so well because now they could show something, even if it wasn't something that they have actually done with me. But now they could show something and say, look at this photographer. It's a little different to, flash photographer or whatever. Do you like it? And my style's romantic and it's got a broader dynamic or a broader audience than what other people would like expect. Yeah. Like that shop that everyone goes to. Like everyone goes to it and sometimes you buy more expensive stuff. Like every now and then you'll buy something more expensive and that's me. Like I'm the shop that everyone goes to and then every now and then someone will buy.
I love that. That's a great analogy. So in terms of that idea that you just came with there, so sending out a book of your, an album of your images to planners, that's something I'd never ever thought of as a photographer. And I think that's such a great point to touch on. A lot of the time we're always focused so heavily on social media and paying for Google ads and SEO on our website. And there are so many other things that we could tap into as simple as that.
Yeah, so you have to remember that planners are seeing more clients, more brides than you would ever see. Because most photographers don't have a workspace, they all work from home. So it's a great, platform. And also, it doesn't have to be a planner. It can be a venue. If you start at a venue sometimes and you really love, go make a beautiful album of that wedding that you did and take it to them. They'll put it on their sample table and people can see it and maybe you just get something out of it. So for me, and that's what I did with, so my friends, they are planners and they have a venue. So it's great because it's like 2 in 1. And I mean, I don't get every wedding, but I get a lot of them. And my books are there and people can actually see. And the people who book me, they already know what they're going to get. And they love what they're going to get. Because also every album that I do is different to the other one, to the next one. So everything will be different. Nothing is exactly the same. And it's bespoke. So for me, that's what I try and get for my clients. Something different.
Fantastic. That's amazing. So you've got to this point in your career, as you say, you're established, you know where you're at, you're comfortable with who you are as a photographer and your style. Is there anyone that still inspires you in your work or in your life?
Yes. So almost anything inspires me. I mean, I can look at a dead tree in the middle of nowhere and I'll crash my car and be like, oh, it's so beautiful, So I love looking at different styles and I love looking at art, and I love looking at movies and the way that they pose people, because they know all the angles. They know what looks the best. So I've got like 2 or 3 movies that I just know, like every shot that I do, I'm like, oh, let's try this and let's try from a different angle. It's like Amelie, the French movie, in the end, when she's with the guy and he kisses her everywhere. It's such beautiful compositions, and I actually use that. So that's really inspiring. And then wedding photography wise, I have 3 photographers that I really love. And the one is someone that I just recently started following. Her name is Elisabeth Marzetti, and she's from Italy. Her work is just incredible. And then Elizabeth Messina, who's also an amazing photographer in the US, and my mentor, Greg Fink. I actually work for him in Europe during the summers, and I photograph all the family at his weddings. So I love their work. It just puts me. It's so nice because I have nothing to stress about. So I just go and I photograph the family, and I make sure they're laughing. And I always tell them, like when I do the family portraits, and it's normally when the bride and groom is off, I'll tell the family, just let's pretend that you're having the best time so that the bride and groom wish they were here when they see the photo. You know, so I'm always trying to get some love and laughter out of them, and it's so much fun. But I mean, he is an incredible photographer, and he has definitely influenced my fashion side of photography. He's so good and just an amazing person to be around. So it's there. And then I have 2 other photographers. They're not wedding photographers, they're portrait photographers. And they are so inspiring. And I mean, my work is nothing like theirs, but I just like every time I see a photo, I have to save it. That's how good it is. And that is Narav photography. And Zeni Zazitskia, she's from Russia. So it's those 2 photographers are just insane with portraits and light and you know, smoke in the background, and I'm just like, oh, you know, I'll die. I wish I could have something like that, but yeah, I stick to my style, and I'll always stick to my style because I do love it. But it's good to look at other people's work and appreciate what they have to go through. Because I know a lot of photographers are like, oh no, this is the only way you can do it. And it's not. I mean, there's so many different styles out there, and so many, you know, every bride has a different style. So there's a match for everyone. And I just love looking at other people's work and just like admiring their skills.
Amazing. I'll definitely check those photographers out because there's a few there that I haven't heard of. So that'll be my homework for today's episode.
Great.
If you start your career all over again, is there anything that you would do differently?
Yes. So the first thing I would do, because I started in 2003, or in 2005, I shot my first wedding. And I just like winged it from there. But I think if I could do anything like from scratch, I would probably go and work for someone to see, you know, to see how they do it, and to grab some information from that, and then like 2 years later go from there. Or I would, like, if you don't want to work for someone for 2 years, then I would do like a great workshop. When in 2008 I did a workshop with Sarah Rhodes, a photographer from the US. It's amazing. They don't do weddings anymore, but what she taught me in business was so valuable that when I got back in 2008, it was like my business was turned upside down. And that's really like something that I wish I'd done sooner. I mean, it was only like 3 years later, but I wish I'd done it sooner because I would have been 3 years, you know, further. But yeah, so it's invest in that, and you know, don't just choose anyone. Choose someone that's really successful, and work hard for them, and don't expect to get all their money because you're working for them. Just like take it in and enjoy it, and enjoy not having the pressure of shooting, you know, for yourself.
Definitely, that's fantastic. And if you perhaps can add one final piece of advice, maybe something that's really made a big difference to you personally or in your business life, what would that one piece of advice be?
Can it only be one?
I might let you have more than one.
Okay. I've spoken a lot about print and stuff like that. So I definitely recommend that every photographer print their work. Print to see if your preset is working on your photos. Print to, design an album to see what you should be cutting out of your image so that you don't have it there. And then another thing is I am a Studio Ninja ambassador, and I love it so much. It has really helped my business grow because I can do everything online. I can send invoices. I can, one of the best things is my accounting software is integrated with it. So I can reconcile and don't need a bookkeeper to look at that. So that is fantastic. And I just, print. That's the other thing is print.
Absolutely. That's amazing. Thank you so much. We love having you as an ambassador. So it's a real honor to have you on board our program. But I'm so pleased that, the software that we have has made such a life-changing, effect on your business. That's amazing.
Thank you so much.
So if our listeners would like to find out some more about you or get in touch with you, how can they do that?
So I have my Instagram is Rensche Mari, and it's spelled Rensche Mari, and it's @ and you can find a link tree with everything, all my website info and workshops and whatever you want to go and look. And send me an email if you have any questions.
Amazing. Fantastic. Thank you so much for your time today. It's been a pleasure to chat with you. I've loved every single second. I feel like I need to go off now and print an album and, make something tangible to have in front of me. So I know that our listeners will have absolutely loved that as well. So thank you again for your time, and hopefully we'll be able to catch each other soon when you're back in Europe.
I hope so. I definitely hope so. Thank you, Sally.
My pleasure. See you soon.
Bye.
Bye. Okay guys, that's everything from me today. Thank you again to Rensche for joining us. It was such a great episode, and I'm sure that you guys will take loads away from it today. If you'd like to see the show notes, you can head to www.studioninja.co/episode 30. Please don't forget to rate us on the podcast platform that you're listening on. A little bit of love goes a very long way. I'll see you next time.
Thanks for listening to this episode of NinjaCast, brought to you by Studio Ninja. Beautifully designed and super easy to use, Studio Ninja will help you manage your leads, clients, shoots, invoices, contracts, workflows, and so much more. To learn more or start your 30-day free trial, go to www.studioninja.co.